Alrighty.
So Ben, you got to stay out of the way because that'll be really ridiculous.
Mhm.
Thanks.
You want this one?
No.
I can work for you.
Well, it's late.
All right, so we'll aim for a 8:45. Nope.
Back in time.
8. Yeah, 45, right? Between 8:45 and 8:50.
All right. Well, looks like we're live. Welcome everyone, whoever's watching. My name is Aldo,
And my name is Ken.
and we're here, and we're going to interview Matt Brown, who is a member of our church. He is also a teacher and just an all-around awesome guy. And that's why we want everyone to get to know him.
Absolutely. Hey, Matt, how long have you been at New Life Little Village Karlov?
Oh, so let's see. New Life Little Village Karlov started what 6.5, 7 years ago, and we're one of the few, along with the offices, that have been there since it started. So for a long time, for a while, we were over at New Life Little Village, which is now Lawndale.
Yeah.
The Lawndale and 27th building. And when Chris Office and his wife and several other couples headed out to start New Life Karlov, we jumped in for the ride, and we've been bumping all along since for the last 7 years.
Cool. And this might be a super loaded question, but what have you done at our church? Or I should say, what haven't you done? I mean, you and your family.
Let's see. I've preached. I've taught Sunday school to little kids.
I don't know how to
Participated with Awana for a long time.
Okay.
Played the cajon as well as the drum set on the worship team. Have not yet debuted the ukulele. So helped on the worship team. I've done the sound. What else? I'm missing something, I'm sure.
Your wife sings.
My wife sings. My son's going to join soon with the bass guitar. He's pretty stoked about that, as is his dad. Best thing ever. We lead a family camping trip each summer.
Oh.
We're super excited about that. We hope it happens this summer, because this summer we finally got a group site at like the place where I've always wanted to get a group campsite. So get a bunch of tents, hang out and cook amazingly great food and explore the park that we're in. So we've gone a few times to Brown County State Park, no relation on the name, down near my birthplace, south of Bloomington, Indiana. We've gone, what else have we gone? Oh, we went out to Governor Dodge State Park once, just a couple different places around the Midwest here. We've taken people out of Little Village and gone to explore the woods and the forest and the Great Lakes region. So it's kind of fun.
Chris wants to remind you that you've also cleaned bathrooms.
Yes, clean bathrooms. Do that a few times.
For those of you that may have not visited our church yet, that's a big deal that Matt Brown helped clean those bathrooms.
Oh,
we are thankful for that, Matt.
they're kind of in that like uncleanable bathroom category, since we rent church space in a very, very old building, and there's just something systematically wrong about that. Oh, and my wife is reminding me of another one. We've done flowers. My first official job as a teenager was to work in a flower shop, and by the time I'd worked there a while, my mom, my sister, my little brother had all worked there. That's 4 out of the 6 of our family had worked there. So it was not the Brown owned family shop, but it was definitely the Brown operated family shop.
Gotcha.
And so a while back, I thought I'd try my hand at doing some arranging, and I've done about 6 weddings so far. Some of those brides are probably actually watching right now.
Cool.
So that was a fun experience. And then we've also done that for church services as well. So I'm helping out.
Let's make a little plug. If anybody out there is looking to get married within the next after quarantine dates,
right?
Matt Brown is your guy.
Yeah. And until I get
I didn't know that.
From a professional, my rates are super reasonable, super reasonable. But it's just really
weddings is a big deal. Weddings is a lot.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah. And I like, it's one of those things, like I'd love to figure out how to make it a little bit more of a side gig instead of just a hobby. I really enjoy doing it. It's
That's
been a
cool.
fun way to be creative and see a pile of flowers that come in these boxes and wrapped up paper become individual pieces, some of
Sure.
which walk down the aisle and some of which sit on the table at the end and things like that. So it's a fun creative outlet for me.
Okay. Well, hey, you mentioned a couple things, and I'd like for you just to mention them a little clearer now.
All
We have a
right.
couple more questions, but this is just a quick, like, spitfire question. So, where were you born, and how many siblings do you have?
Born in Bloomington, Indiana, home of the Hurricane Hoosiers. Lived there for the first 5 years of my life before moving up to Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Then moved over to Detroit, Michigan, or the suburbs thereof, and have been in Chicago or Milwaukee the rest of my adult life. So started Bloomington. I was number 2 of 4. My older brother is a pastor with his wife and their 7 kids, 6 girls and 1 boy.
Oh,
They
wow.
live outside of Philadelphia.
Awesome.
My sister and brother-in-law live in the northwest corner of Iowa with their daughter. And then my little brother and his wife and their 4 girls are up in Minnesota right now, hoping to head to Italy in a while as missionaries over there.
Very nice.
So Italy
Wow,
will have
that's
to
cool.
wait. But yeah, so 4 of us. And my dad was a pastor, so I'm officially a PK, a pastor's kid.
Nice.
And I've got a brother who's a pastor, a brother-in-law who's a history professor at a Christian college, a brother who's a missionary. So the cool news for us is a family of people walking with the Lord and
Amen.
growing in our relationship with Him. We're excited to say that is not just a generational thing that's come from parents and grandparents who love the Lord, but has been something that has grown in our own lives, that we all have made some moves to say, this is not just a religious thing. This is not just my parents' thing as a pastor. If the church is open, we're there kind of thing. Like we do Sunday school because what else we're going to do at church? But
Right.
it's something that we have relationships with Jesus. And
Very cool.
that's a real thing for us. So it's really exciting to know too, as a family member, that I have a family that is connected in a spiritual way as well as a blood family kind of way. So yeah.
Nice. Cool,
Nice.
cool. Well, Matt, I know you're a teacher. You were in CPS for a long time. Now you're at Daystar. Quickly here, let's think of, got a couple questions. Be as honest as you can be. What's your favorite subject to teach? I know you're teaching specifics right now.
Right.
Like you have a couple things you're in charge of, but in all your teaching career, which I know it's very packed with a lot of responsibilities. What's your favorite subject?
All those doing this right now. Ooh.
Yeah. And what's your least favorite to teach?
Yeah.
We all got that.
Yeah, we all have least and most on everything, even as teachers. So my favorite thing to teach is what I'm teaching right now, and that is middle school science. And when I tell some people that, they're like, "Oh, you're a middle school teacher? Like, wow, that's great. I commend you." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I'm that weird." And it took a while for me to get that, but I totally enjoy being in that realm where kids are somewhere between the like, we want to learn everything, yay, and they ask why questions all the time, and that 8th grade, 9th grade in high school, like, I got to learn this, because it's amazing to see in 6th grade to 8th grade how much the mind changes and the development happens. I taught for a few years in a Christian school doing a classical education format, and they talked about the middle school as kind of the logic phase, not because kids are logical, but they're learning how to develop those logical arguments, and they're learning how to be critical thinkers. So I'm in middle school. I love that. And I teach science. I think science is a fantastic way to be curious about the world that God has made, where we as scientists look to figure out what is the rhyme and reason, what's the structures that God has put in place in his creation. And
are you telling me that science and God, religion, can coexist? You could believe in both?
I do. I believe that.
Interesting. For anybody out there that didn't know that, you can do both. Okay, that's a good one.
Cool thing. So let me tell a bit more. I was a little frustrated last few years. Maybe like, I believe in science, because in those protests, they're really clearly saying like, and I don't like conservative white Republican males who say, I don't believe in climate change. And it was kind of this way to say like, science is our religion and science is more important. But I think if there is a creator, and I believe that there is, then all that we see came out of his creative mind. And he put structure and order into the world. And the job of scientists is to test those things out and find it out. There are some limits of science. And I super interestingly just got to start Neil deGrasse Tyson's book, Astrophysics for Young People in a Hurry. And it was really interesting to me in the first chapter or so. He talks about the fact, he's talking about the Big Bang and how everything came out of that. And he gives the sense, and it's more nuanced, I found in the young person's book, that scientists get to a point where they don't know what happened before that. And he says a lot of religions say that there's some divine being, God, who put it up there. And in the young person's editions, he just kind of leaves it there as if to say like, you're welcome to go beyond that, but scientists don't. And I would love to explode that idea a whole lot more to say like, science doesn't explain origins, theology does, or spirituality does. And I think that's where we get those really interesting bridges of science and spirituality. As a person of faith, we can say, I know that God did it. And I know there's some things he doesn't reveal to us, some things that we don't know. Right. And those are just out there.
Right.
But in that sense, from now forward, on our realm of things in the earth, we can say in this sphere that we have, we can explain these things. And we know that God is the one who put that all together to work in this sort of way. So,
hey, just to let you know, Pastor Chris said, I won't judge you because you believe in science. Do you know where that's a reference from? Do you know where that's from?
The reference in particular, I'm not sure. But in terms of
classic. It's a classic.
It's a
what's from?
You got it, right?
Classic movie.
Go ahead, give it to him, man.
It's Nacho Libre.
Oh, Nacho Libre. No, it's been a while. I should definitely watch Nacho Libre again on the quarantine.
Movie night suggestion, go for it, guys.
Yep.
Cool. Aldo, do you have a couple? You have a couple?
Two, actually. We got one from Instagram.
Oh my goodness, I'm being watched on Instagram.
Yeah. And so they say, how did you meet Lydia?
Oh, this is gonna get real romantic.
This is cray cray. My kids are in the background making noises. My wife is trying to hide right now. Like this is going public. I was a student at Wheaton College. She was not. She lived in the area. Oh yeah, Lydia says I can't tell too much. The book is coming out soon.
Oh, okay.
Probably could be a book. So looking at the clock too. Let's see. So I was a student at Wheaton. I was very much epitomized like I lived in the bubble. I went off campus once a week to go to First Baptist of Wheaton. And besides that, like really like, you know, there was great food on campus. There was a snack bar, like, you know, the library, the dorms, it was all there. And one of my friends, whose name just so happened to also be Lydia, from California, lovely gringa, white gal who loved all things Latino. And she got involved in a Spanish speaking church. And she ended up becoming roommates with a woman named Lydia. Now you'll note that one is Lydia and one is Lydia. And so somewhere after college, actually, Lydia married my best friend, Travis. And Travis had Matt Brown be his best man. And Lydia had Lydia be her maid of honor. And so because of Travis and Lydia, Matt and Lydia met. And that's the short end of the story.
Okay. All right.
I've never told it that short before.
Okay. Very good. Did Lydia give you the thumbs up in the background? Was she like, good job, you got it?
I think so. She's cool with that version of it. Yeah.
We can keep going then.
We've had people over for dinner and they ask us that question and we're like, Maya, look at the time. It's about 10 p.m. You got to go. When we started the story at like 7:30. So, yeah.
Gotcha. That's good. That's a good question. That's a good question.
It's fun. It's a great story. There's a couple of cool chapters in there in terms of my growing and maturing as a human and as a person. My dad had some hesitations, and throughout the time that Lydia and I were dating, my dad and I were in a lot of conversations back and forth. And it wasn't that my dad was like, don't marry her. but it was a lot of things like checking in and wondering and thinking through things. And when we finally announced our engagement, he was, of course, a little like, oh, I thought there was going to be another letter. Because he and I had been writing letters back and forth, and it had just come after a visit down to Mexico. That's another great story. But I said, no, we're doing this, and we're good to go. And in that same conversation, he, again, as a pastor, says, so who's going to officiate your wedding? And we're like, whoa, like you were just concerned a minute ago and like shocked. But we said, hey, Dad, you're my dad. I would love it if you would take part in the ceremony, that you would give the pastoral charge to us as a couple.
Yeah.
We have another friend who's going to officiate the wedding, a brother-in-law, well, soon to be brother-in-law, who's going to translate. It was a bilingual service when it turned out. But we asked my dad to participate in giving the sermon.
Yeah.
And his response was quick, but yet totally not unexpected to me, because he said, Matt, you're my son, and I love you. This is a big event in your life, and I want to be involved in all the big events of your life, and I want to celebrate you and what you're doing. And so you just tell me what you want me to do, and I'll be there. And Lydia, at this time, this is 2001, and so we're sharing the flip phone between us in the car as we drive on I-55 back home. And she looks at me like, who is that? Did you just like change the phone call? Like, I haven't heard your dad talk to you and I that way, like, ever. And I was like, oh, that's my dad. He's cool. And so that was very cool. The next day, my wife showed up to work at Lawndale Christian Health Center, and there was this big,
Shout out to Lawndale.
kind of large presentation bouquet, and she opens it, and everyone's like teasing, like, oh, you just got engaged, and she's off the ring, and for sure it's from Matt. But no, the very next morning she shows up to work, and it's a flower arrangement from my mom and dad. Note the order, my mom and dad. She worked at the flower shop too. See, it all fits together. And she opens the card, and it says, Dear Lydia, welcome to the family. Love, Dad and Mom. And as if the emotion of the whole night before was enough, Lydia's like, oh. So,
that's so cool.
yeah, so like,
very cool.
And in 17 years, we have grown as a couple, in particular in our relationship with my parents, and that's been really exciting for us.
Awesome.
Lydia's family lives in Mexico. We don't get to see them as much. We can't see them as much. Lydia had already kind of left home and come to the States before meeting me. And so it's definitely visits down there that are like a year or 2 years apart. And so we've been able to connect with my family, especially my parents, really well, because they live over in Michigan, to be connected with them. So
very cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's
Sorry, while you were talking, I had to Google what a flip phone was. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, you did.
And then I had to Google what
Probably.
290 was, because I can't remember what 290 looked like.
Yeah, I haven't been on the highways in weeks, man. My car needs oil change. If someone wants to come help me do it, I'll show you how, but there is no rush on that or whatever. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, we love your family. It's you, Lydia, and can you talk about your two kids? Can you describe them in let's make it really hard for a teacher. One word. One word to describe both your kids. Maybe you could say their name, age, and then a word to describe them.
Yeah. Man, I've been challenged to do it in one sentence, but I don't know about one word, especially since they're watching this from the other room or hearing this. Ben Brown, or Benjamin, or Benji, Benjamin, loves nicknames. He is 13 years old. He's in 8th grade at Daystar Academy, where I teach. And one word about Benji, I'm like, there's 3 of them popping up right now. I think Ben is super sensitive, and he's really empathetic to what's going on around him. That has allowed him to reach out to be a really strong friend to people. I just expanded that word, but yeah, besides being an amazing thinker and insightful, he's also a Lego maniac in the house. So if we were to show his room, in the same way that his office has all kinds of stuff going on, like his room is just, it's Legos everywhere, like different layers and containers. Took over his dresser now, and yeah, so that's been his go-to in the last few weeks, to hang out in, as we call it, Legoland.
Cool.
Victoria is 11.
Is I just happen to step on them. That's it. That's all I
Yeah,
can do.
no, so far in life, I have not been injured by a Lego. And so I know other parents talk about being that. I guess because I played Legos as a kid, like I know how not to step on them. And that's pretty good about not having the tiny little 1-by-1 brick on the floor.
Those are the killers.
I think the carpet in his room is really a thick pile that helps hide things too. So yeah, none of us have gotten injured by Legos, which is good. We count that a victory in life.
Cool.
Thumbs up, he shows.
I saw that.
And then we have a daughter. Her name is Anna Victoria Amelia Brown. That's the whole middle name. Anna Victoria actually shares her name with her great grandmother who immigrated from Sweden. And we knew that whole name was in there. The funny thing is when she was born, and we called my grandma, she's like, "That's my mother's name." And we're like, yeah, it is. Yeah, it was
on purpose.
Yeah, it was there was a picture of my great grandma in a picture book about my grandma, and it was like on the 3rd page or something, and Anna Victoria Amelia, and we had thought about a variation on those names, and we were like, yeah, that's it. And then we like just kind of shoved it away that it was actually from my great grandma. Cool. So my grandma heard, she was like, "Oh, they named her for me."
Oh, that's great.
Both of our kids have names that are biblical, bilingual, familial, and yeah, there's all kinds of great meaning in there. Anna Victoria is 6th grade, 11 years old, and best word for her, I don't want to offend her. I want to celebrate the fact that she is orderly, and if things need to be done, they're going to be done well. She's organized, and so that keeps me, who's not always organized, kind of a creative, like big thinker type, keeps me and mom on her toes. But she's also very creative. She is becoming an amazing cook. We were just looking at how to do French style croissants today, and I think we might try that this weekend. So I know you can't come to the house for Easter dinner or Easter brunch, but I think
post the picture on the video after.
Yeah, we'll just show it there and be like, oh!
That's cool.
Yeah, so she's ready for it. We were teasing her if she actually starts a YouTube channel, which she'd like to do. She can do like the 100 level and the 200 level because she's already ready.
Okay, another plug. Very cool.
Nice.
All right. La Quarantesima, she has helped us already. We're making our 2nd batch of yogurt tonight. We've done that before, but homemade yogurt is amazing. If you don't know how to do it, it's super easy. It's worth doing.
Is that when you just let the milk sit out for weeks?
No, you can make it in a crock pot in like 12 hours. It's kind of fun. You heat it up to pasteurize the milk, and then you let it come down to a temperature that the bacteria will grow. You put some starter yogurt in there, and then you stick it in a warm place like an oven with a light on for overnight. You take it out in the morning and you have yogurt.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really that easy. So, and then we're having pizza for dinner that we made the other day. She's helping make dough lately. And what else is going on? She's made birthday cakes. Nice. She did an amazing cake for a baby shower for a friend at church a few months back. And it was her first time working with a certain kind of cake. It was her first time working with fondant, which is that like marzipan coating thing. And then she also did the lettering on the cake. And it was like, I was like, oh no, it's going to turn out like that. It totally turned out. Yeah, we were like, cool. So she's going to get a baking channel and a baking career. I'm going to do flowers. Well, we got to have the quarantine
flowers
for
and
those
pizza,
things, because then you can like actually bring them to people and have parties where these things happen.
For
so
sure.
We're kind of party people, I guess. Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool. All right, Aldo, those are my questions. I know we have a couple more minutes, so you want to ask a few more and then.
Yeah, I can ask a couple more. So here's another one. If you had an Inspector Gadget, what would it be?
Right now, I want to help this feeling. Go Gadget. I remember watching Inspector Gadget as a kid. I personally need like some kind of, it doesn't sound very Go Gadgety, but the one I really need is like a Go Gadget clock organizer that says do this and actually sit down and then I just do it. But if I had a real cool Go Gadget fun thing that would work on that show, oh man, and they even asked me about this ahead of time.
You're not supposed to say that out loud, man.
Oh, this was not.
thing.
How to go? It would probably be something I would just be fun. It would be something to do with camping because we love camping and we love our tent. We've had our tent before we had kids. It still works. Only one of the zippers is not doing so well. But if we had a go-go gadget like a tent that just set itself up, but it was actually a good tent, because there's some that do that and you're like, that's not a tent, that's a toy. So some cool go-go gadget tool for camping would be fun.
Cool.
That's cool. Well, I also know that you do cooking.
I do.
A lot, outdoor cooking as well. So what is your favorite recipe you've ever cooked?
My favorite, well, I gotta do favorite menu.
Oh,
Can't do favorite recipe.
Okay.
I a long time ago had a friend who they were having a baby in the summer, and I was like, we should bring them a meal. We should do ribs, because I'd always heard like you can do ribs on the grill, and I'd never done ribs on the grill. And so then I went to Aldi and I got like a package of ribs, and I was like, great. And I was like, wait, where am I gonna cook these? And our landlord had this little like grill kind of thing, and somehow I did ribs on this little grill. But since then, I got a really big smoker, and then for my 40th birthday, I got a pit barrel cooker, and it is the most awesome way to smoke anything. So my favorite recipe is a rack or 8 that all fit in the barrel of St. Louis style ribs with Meathead's Memphis dry rub on there, and then I throw down some baked beans. I do a really good sweet and sour coleslaw, some potatoes, and if we're really good, I do my own barbecue sauce. I've done a red sauce, kind of St. Louis style, and I've also done the Carolina mustard sauce. It's amazing on pulled pork. And if we're really good, I'll throw in a baked mac and cheese. That's the one.
Alex says we should have a cooking segment, or a segment called Cooking with Matt Brown.
Look at that, yeah.
Yes.
I need to see smoke going through the screen, like throw things off. Yeah.
Actually, I think
smoke.
I think I would hate it because I need to try it, man. I would have to try it.
We got our first delivery today from Target, like delivered to us. So yeah, if we can figure out how to get all the packaging delivered to us and maybe one of those like pizza warmer bags, then we're in business.
Right.
We'll do this. Yeah.
Okay. Everybody wants.
The price is going to be really expensive right now because yeah, it's just going to be. But you'll enjoy it. We're sure of that.
Okay.
Right.
Cool. Well, how about I ask one last question? Are you okay with that, Aldo?
Hey, yeah.
Let's hey, it's Good Friday, right? It's a huge, just an amazing day for people who consider Jesus everything. And I think a lot of people nowadays are considering the option of thinking about Jesus a little more. And so, Matt, in light of Good Friday, in light of who we are as a church, for those of us that know you, love your family, love you, respect you, we know your heart is just in the right place. We know you love the Lord so much. You're just to end it, how can you encourage those that are watching to say, what have you enjoyed the most out of this quarantine? I know it's really hard for most of us to be stuck at home, staring at the same four walls, not being able to live our normal life. But for what we do have, right, that's bigger than life itself, what have you taken away from this, man? What do you value so far? And obviously it could change. We still have who knows how many more days. But what has God taught you to enjoy during this time? Maybe you can help some of us think a little differently.
Yeah.
And you can be as honest as you want.
A couple things come to mind. One, just the reality of being more intentional for us about family dinners. It's pretty easy to come home from work now since I'm already at home. Our school has been doing the distance learning thing now for 3 weeks and even had a spring break already. And so our whole family is a part of Daystar Academy. And so our 2 kids are working on their laptops all day, and their dad and mom were teaching classes all day. And it's a little draining to be on the screen. But the fact that we can navigate that together, that we're kind of in the sense of we're very much all in this together. we've been getting some good reminders of that. And then to end the day, to take a break from work, schoolwork and all that, and sit and make and eat dinner together. Dinner time has gone a lot longer and a lot later lately. And it's good to not feel that we're rushed to the next thing. And so I think for me, the travel time of a half hour to work, a half hour home each day becomes an hour more that we're intentional about being together as a family. And that's been good. We've had a couple of, we're not a super disciplined kind of thing. Like we wake up at 6 and we read the Bible and we do this. But we've had a few cool resources that we've really enjoyed. I wish I'd had the books right here. One is Streams in the Desert. Oh, there goes Ben to get it. One is Streams in the Desert. It is an updated and edited devotional from a long, long time ago, but it's specifically written for people that are dealing with struggles. And every day of the 1 day per year devotions talks about how God is there in the midst of struggle. And so like I picked it up again in the beginning of the year, like, oh man, this is tough. And now I'm like, everybody's got it tough. Like, and there's different levels of difficulty that we're dealing with. And so Streams in the Desert, wait, see, I've got an assistant here. Streams in the Desert by L.B. Coleman.
Hey, could you hold it up a little closer?
Yeah.
We can all see it as close as you can. Okay.
There it is. And if anyone's heard of My Utmost for His Highest, that was also edited by the fellow who edited this. So 366 readings, Streams in the Desert has been a really good go-to for us, just in terms of providing encouragement in tough times. And in the reality that all of life here on earth, as a Christian, we realize it's the toughest it's going to get for us. And this can be said, it's a practice round. There's two big things we talk about in Christianity. One is salvation and one is sanctification. Salvation is that you've come to the Lord, you understand that he's forgiven you of your sins, and you follow him, and you're going to do what he tells you to do. And the second one is the doing of that. The sanctification is the becoming more and more like him, but knowing that there's kind of this limit out there that someday, no matter what we've done in terms of our walk with the Lord here, when we get to heaven, yes, that's the good stuff. And so as Christians, we can totally grasp the difficulty, the harshness of Good Friday when Jesus dies. Like the God man separated from God for hours, 3 days, and then comes back. The comes back doesn't happen until the bad happens. And that suffering is real. That suffering is part of life. And so we get this tiny, tiny little glimpse of it because, oh, shucks, we've got to stay in our house, or, oh, life is more challenging now and I might get sick, or there's some people that are going to lose their life. But as a Christian, wow, there's hope through this. And so that's been something we've been thinking about. Ben got it for me, so I want to share it too. The other one is actually a Christmas gift that came from my brother. It's called Every Moment Holy, and it looks like this big formal old book. And it's not a tradition that we're used to. It talks about liturgies, and a liturgy is basically a prayer service, an order of worship. And this is literally talking about every moment. And so instead of like the Easter liturgy or the Good Friday liturgy that we're working on right now, or that if we were at a more formal church, which some of my friends are, they read through it, there's Psalms and there's scripture readings, there's prayers, there's songs, and it all fits into that. And it's a really beautiful way. It's a really formal way to do worship. But even an informal church, we kind of have our liturgy, our order of worship. Well, this one is meant for like personal reading, and it's everything from the liturgy for setting up a Christmas tree, the liturgy for the morning ritual of making coffee, the liturgy for arriving at the ocean. So just every moment that God is in these moments, whether you're making an artisan meal or a hurried preparation of dinner, like it's all there. And it's just these really insightful poems to say, God, thank you for being here in the moment with us. And I love getting good gifts. Like I'm not a book reader, but this one is becoming a favorite because there's all these, when it was super warm last week and we're like, we're going outside, we're on our spring break, and we were working in the garden and doing yard work, we found one for the liturgy of planting flowers. And so we read it sitting on our back porch, and then we went out and did work for the day in mind that God, all of creation isn't, you see I'm a science teacher, right? All of creation is in this little seed, and it's going to bloom and blossom and show this amazing glory, and all of creation is represented in that tiny seed. And it was like every moment is holy.
Amen.
So
That's right.
that's been fun.
That's
All
great.
right,
Thank
well,
you so much.
I think that's about all the time we got for tonight. One last question. This is one we want to always ask. Cubs or Sox?
Cubs or Sox?
Cubs or Sox? Gotta pick one because you live in Chicago.
Yeah. I live in Chicago. It's a divisive issue. I don't have. I heard Chris's answer to this the other week, and I don't have
it was all
Foster's
right.
complicated
It was-
answer to that.
It was all right. We
Yeah,
let it
it
slide.
was
He's the
wishy-washy.
pastor, you know. We
But in
get
this
it.
house,
We get-
we've got some slightly divided loyalties. The first baseball game that Ben got invited to was a White Sox game. And so as a kid, when you get invited to a game and you're not really a baseball fan yet, and you get invited to a game, he's our White Sox fan.
Okay.
But for almost 10 years, I taught up on the north side at Inter-American Magnet School, a dual language school with English and Spanish. And we were like 2 blocks away from Wrigley. So to go to work, if I was on the red line, I got off at the Wrigley Field stop at Addison. And my first 2 years of teaching, my 4th grade classroom was facing Sheffield, where the rooftop bleachers are across the street. And
Oh, nice.
math in the afternoons in the spring was always interrupted by like, and I had this little punk kid in the back of the room who goes, "Go White Sox!" And I'm like, "No, we're next to the Cubs. Come on, you got it wrong." So simply because of geography,
Oh
the
my
fact
God.
that they've actually won a World Series kind of recently in grand style, go Cubs.
We respect them too.
All right.
Gotcha.
Cubs. Cool.
Okay.
So I hope that doesn't change how people like me or not.
Well, we'll see. We'll after we end, you can read the comments and just deal
Never getting interviewed again. Done. Blocked on Twitter.
with
Well, thanks, Matt, for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's
quick
great
interview.
fun.
And we'll see everybody else later
Have a
on.
good night.
All right.
Peace out. God bless you all. Good night.
All right. God bless you.
Bye.